The Springboks full 2025 fixture list has been dropped, and this could be the toughest year the Springboks have faced in a while. In 2024, they won 11 out of 13 games with an impressive 85% win rate. The two games they lost were both by 1 point, against Ireland in Durban and away to Argentina. But looking ahead at this year's schedule, in my opinion, this is an absolutely brutal set of fixtures and is really going to test the Springboks. So it poses the question, what does a successful year look like for the Springboks when they look back in December of this year? And with that said, let's discuss it. If you haven't, please hit that subscribe button, leave this video a like, and as always, drop your opinions down in the comments. Now, let's get into the fixture list. Now, the 4 fixtures that have now been confirmed and sort of filled the set of the Springboks 13 games are the Autumn Nations Series games in November this year. I will be getting to them. I just think let's go through every fixture and really discuss what a successful year for the Springboks looks like with these sets of fixtures. I think it's quite a nice warm-up to the year for them with 2 home tests against Italy, then a home test against Georgia. Now, I'm not saying that Italy won't give us a run for their money, but they shouldn't. Realistically, they shouldn't, especially at home on home soil for the Springboks, where historically we've been very, very good. There's maybe also an aspect of Rassie Erasmus thinking about experimentation sort of in that first 3 games against Italy and Georgia. It's not a bad time to start, and we saw the 56-man first Springbok squad of 2025 be dropped last week. Obviously, that didn't have international players, but I do think we might see a couple of opportunities given quite early in the year to a couple of the new guys in the Springbok setup, just because I think Italy, the 2 Italy tests and the Georgia test provide us that opportunity to really give these guys a test and see where they're at as we build to the bigger test matches throughout the year. So I definitely think Italy and Georgia are experimentation test matches, given that they're at home, and the Springboks should 100% be winning that, no questions asked. We then go into the Rugby Championship, and I think the Rugby Championship is very, very interesting because we play 2 home tests against Australia. We play 2 away tests to the All Blacks, which is the biggest rugby game of the year is the one at Eden Park, the first one. And then we play 1 at home against Argentina and then away to Argentina in London, which is basically a home game for the Springboks just because of how many South Africans there are in London. So the Rugby Championship is also a bit of a weird structure just because we've coming off those 2 Italy and Georgia tests. We're probably going to experiment. We'll get momentum going, and then we come up against Australia in sort of a 2-game series in the Rugby Championship at home. Now, the thing about Australia is that they are a desperate side this year, and they would have just come off the back of a British and Irish Lions tour, where the British and Irish Lions are going to Australia. They're playing sort of all the franchise teams there, the Reds, the Force, all of those guys, and then play 3 test matches against Australia. So Australia should have their nuts and bolts pretty sorted by the time they fly over to South Africa to face the Springboks. In my opinion, I'm not sure if they're going to be even able to get 1 over the British and Irish Lions. So they could be coming into that series against the Springboks as a pretty wounded side, which will make them dangerous because they've got absolutely nothing to lose and everything to prove. So Australia could be very, very interesting. I don't know if we will experiment too much against Australia, and we could see sort of an early side go over to New Zealand before those 2 away tests start, much like they did before the 2019 Rugby World Cup, is they sort of play a B side against Australia in that second test match while they fly sort of 12 to 15 players to New Zealand to get acclimatized. And I think with the depth that the Springboks have, they could definitely do that. I mean, a B side in the Springbok side is a very, very good side. So it's going to be interesting to see how Rassie Erasmus and the Springboks deal with that, traveling away to the All Blacks, to New Zealand, and trying to prove a point over there after those 2 games against Australia. Are they going to send a team before? Are they going to play their best players against Australia and then fly them all over to New Zealand? It's a very tricky situation that they got there. Then we come up to the 2 games against the All Blacks in New Zealand, the one at Eden Park and the one in Wellington. Now, Eden Park is the All Blacks territory. They had 50 games unbeaten there. The last time the Springboks won at Eden Park was in 1931. The last time the Springboks won in New Zealand was in 2018 in Wellington, and before that it was in 2009. So the Springboks don't historically travel well to New Zealand. And if the Springboks are going to say, if we are going to say we are the best team in the world, we need to win away test matches. It doesn't help that we win all of our home tests and then we can't beat the All Blacks away, we can't beat Ireland away, we can't beat France away. So that is a very, very important 2-game sort of stretch for the Springboks to, yes, test their depth against potentially Australia, fly a team over, and then beat New Zealand in New Zealand. Imagine the Springboks beat New Zealand 2-0 in New Zealand. That is headlines absolutely everywhere. That is the biggest test match of the year. All Blacks versus Springboks in Eden Park. And if the Springboks can get over them there, then no one can really say much about the Springboks, because this whole narrative between World Cups that the Springboks can't win. Rassie Erasmus proved last year with an 85% win rate that they can. They need to do that this year, which is an arguably more difficult set of fixtures. So those 2 test matches are very, very vital in my opinion for the Springbok season. Then we sort of go up against Argentina, and we saw last year that Argentina on their day can't beat the Springboks. They need to have a very good game. The Springboks need to have a very average game for Argentina to beat them, but they cannot be underestimated, because if we had beaten Argentina away from home, suddenly we're looking at a 12 out of 13 game season, which is absolutely unbelievable. So I think the Springboks will get over Argentina at home, and then in London they should do it as well. They're not playing them away from home in Argentina, so the Springboks should get that done. Then we sort of move into the November fixtures and the Autumn Nation series, which there are some massive games. It's France, Italy, Ireland and Wales. Now, yes, we would have already played 2 test matches against Italy. We kind of know what that's about, right? But Italy at home, we know how dangerous they can be. We've proven that we can beat Wales quite comfortably away from home. So I'm not too stressed about those 2 fixtures. But France and Ireland away from home, it doesn't get much bigger than that. I think the All Blacks away from home is probably number 1. Ireland away is probably 2, and France in that 3rd position. I mean, the last time we beat France was in the quarterfinal of the World Cup last year in Paris. They will want revenge for that. They'll be back. They'll probably make it back at Paris, at that stadium, to try and sort of wrong those rights. We know how good that French side is. Yes, they had a little bit of a stumbling in the Six Nations now, but France will want revenge over the Springboks. And then we've got the away test against Ireland, which is sort of this trilogy that last year produced, right? We played 2 home games against Ireland, beat them at Loftus, lost by 1 point in Durban. In sort of everyone's opinion, Ireland probably won that series. A 1-1 draw is probably a win for Ireland away from home. So the Springboks will want to win that 3rd one, especially away from home against Ireland, because the last time we beat Ireland in Ireland was in 2012. And Ireland have won 4 out of their last 5 games against the Springboks. So Ireland sort of seemed to be that bogey team for the Springboks. So it would be massive for the Springboks to go to Europe, beat France away from home, beat Italy, beat Ireland, beat Wales. But it's a massive year. So what does success look like for the Springboks this year? Because we've got some seriously difficult away fixtures, 2 against the All Blacks, 1 against France and 1 against Ireland. And I think those 4 fixtures make or break the Springbok season. That could go from a 13 out of 13 or an 11 out of 13 to all of a sudden a 9 out of 13. Maybe we lose 1 home fixture and it's an 8 out of 13 season. And all of a sudden, those claims that the Springboks can't win between World Cups is back. So in my opinion, I think the Springboks need to win at least 2 out of those 4 fixtures. Out of the 2 tests against All Blacks, against Ireland and France, we need to win at least 2. Whether it's 1 in New Zealand, and I actually do think we need to win 1 in New Zealand. At least 1. Maybe Eden Park's a bit of a stretch, but in Wellington, we need to try and get the job done. If we can beat them at Eden Park, that would be... oh, I'm dreaming here, but that would be absolutely massive. So I think we need to win 1 in New Zealand. I think we would need to win 1 out of the France-Ireland game. And if we could win all 4, then the Springboks are really on just a different level and are definitely massive favourites going into that 2027 Rugby World Cup. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments. What is a successful season look like for the Springboks? Is it 9 out of 13? Is it 13 out of 13? Should we be winning all our home games and a couple of away games? Let me know. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, leave this video a like, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take it easy. Peace.